there was a very significant change that took place specifically on Wednesday, the 29th. And I was seeing it in my chat thread. I was hearing, is everyone feeling this? And I'm like, oh yeah.
Still and silent, calm before the storm, gold and diamond, jewels behind the throne, into the night, out of the dark, take to the sky, chasing the stars, all that we said, all that we are, waiting to fly, this is the start. Hide and seek, reason and rhyme, grand and glorious, living the dream, yours and mine, euphoria.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to True Sacred Union's weekly roundtable for Sacred Counterparts, Twin Flames, and Original Pairs. My name is Debbie Dubois. It is Sunday, December 3rd here in the States. And I want to start off this call by saying that my brain is very, very tired from all of the work I did this week. So my plan is to share just a little bit about what I saw this week personally. And then I'm going to be holding sacred space for those of you on this call and for those who view this video later, to let me know what kind of experiences you've had, if it aligns with what I've had. I'm very interested to see if you've experienced anything like I've experienced. And I want to start by saying thank you to Hamish for sending some beautiful pictures that energized me, because I was like, oh, I need some energy here. And he did that. So thanks, Hamish. A very huge shift took place for me this last week. And I'm not even sure if I can accurately describe it, even if we had the time for me to go into detail. It happened so fast and so synchronistically that this is kind of what I'm interested in our conversation, to find out if anyone can relate to the situation that I had. But it seems there was a very significant change that took place specifically on Wednesday, the 29th. And I was seeing it in my chat thread. I was hearing, is everyone feeling this? And I'm like, oh yeah. So it was on. And on that day, things really started energetically shifting hugely and tangibly as well. And that went for a lot of people in my close circle. So one of my favorite astrologers is Christopher Witecki of Serious Joy. And he reported in this last week's astrology report, which I'm going to link below, he talked very specifically about this Wednesday, the 29th, being a very significant day. Now, back in November of 2021, I was following what Chris said was the shift from the story that you were born to the story that you're born to live. And I think of that as being the shift. Okay. So that's when I started following all of this, and I took such an interest in it. I did some videos myself. I did a main video, and then I did some breakdowns by sun signs. And I'm going to link that November 2021 video in a card above. And the reason why is I realize now that way back then, I was preparing for now. It's all happening now. The shift started then, and I was preparing for it and walking it through, and now it's here. So I'm very interested to see if anyone else had that kind of experience on Wednesday. But I want to take you a little bit through what happened since this last call that we had. Earlier last week required me to walk through some very, very uncomfortable conversations that shifted a lot of energy for me around the topics of last week's call. while I can't get into the details of it because it's quite personal, by Wednesday, as a result of that, there were many miracles that began happening for me. And I learned from A Course in Miracles that miracles are like a collapse in time. And on Wednesday, that's what it felt like. I felt like time collapsed and certain things happened to where I found myself returning to a higher version of me. So these miracles cleared a lot almost immediately, restoring me to what I consider to be right thinking. And the most important part, I think, was that as a result of some of these shifts, my heart opened fully again, but not without the inner being's boundaries that are there to ensure that I don't pay a price, right, for opening the heart up. It's like the inner being was going to walk with me and make sure that I continue to set boundaries, even though so many great shifts have happened, which also brought me so much more peace and brought me to an empowered state that I cannot remember feeling in this lifetime. And I remember when I was 18 years old, setting it was a very certain goal that I wanted to build to a place where I would have a candle that was so strong that nothing could blow it out. That was me at 18. And I felt like I hit that this week. So it was a really big marker for me. And of course, with everything that I went through, I was accompanied by Hamish has kind of brought me awareness of a term, stalker, like a stalker self, like when you're stalking yourself, which I do all the time. But during this whole process, I was making adjustments based on what I was seeing. And I was stalking my energy field. So what was really interesting was to see the victories. The victories were there. I was watching and I'm going, wow, look at that victory. Wow, look at that victory. And then in addition, I was able to witness like more energy coming into my field. So it made it easier to feel what was happening and then to see what was happening. And I would tune into that energy. And then I might have, a sudden flash that would be like, oh, wow, that's an origin point for that. And then I would see it and then I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, let that go. It's like, it was incredible. So the other thing that I was doing from an energetic standpoint, a lot of this is I learned when I connected with information in Alicia Brachet's energy course called Elevate, and you should check it out. I have continued to work on 2 injuries that I have from the gym, my elbow and my knee. And doing the energy work around this has come up significantly during this week because that stalker self is always present. It's like, oh, there's pain. What is that? What does that mean? And I'll dive into the pain. But I also learned to couple that with the physical changes that I need to make. So exercises that I needed to work on that would strengthen like the tennis elbow, but doing it energetically and physically was something that I was being guided to do because I was tuned in to that energy. So finally, I'd say one of the biggest shifts that happened for me personally this week is I had a phone call with a friend and he asked me, what is it you want? What do you want? And I sat there and I was like, what do I want? Part of me is like, I don't want to play this game anymore. Part of me is like, get me out of here. This place is upside down, blah, blah, blah. But it was interesting because when I dug into that, what I really realized is that I want to do what I came here to do. And then it was like, what am I here to do? And it was that moment that I realized I need to do personal sessions again. I'm a counselor and I need to do that again. And so what was so wild is after I decided that, and I don't even think I made like tiny little changes to something on my website. I had 3 people enter in to my life who just needed my flavor of what I offer. So that's how that works. when we know what we're here to do and we get lit for the fire of our mission, it's like the universe wants to deliver up to you that which you came here for. And I know on this journey, we often get very, I want to say, distracted by the counterpart pull towards us and stuff. But those of us who came here on this path are really here to do something special. It's one of the reasons why I'm having these calls, is I'm drawing to me those special people who are here in service of others. Those are the people who are showing up here, and that is helping build a platform that's going to support others. So not only did I realize I'm definitely opening up for sessions, I got to have a couple sessions and I got to realize, oh my God, I know what my gift is. And I've had this gift my whole life, but my gift is to be able to help people see a right side up perspective of the inversion, and from an empowered standpoint, so that they can take action and move forward from an empowered state, which is almost always going to be to go into your own knowing. It's going to be get in touch with your mission. It's going to be to get in touch with your creative expression. When you do that, you don't feel as attached to the outcome of the sacred counterpart. And at the same time, you're actually sowing the seeds of what you need within you to draw that person to you. So that was really significant for me. Even the work that I do with Intuit Oracle with Kimberly Aria, she is on this call tonight. The work that we do is still aligned with that mission of turning into the inner knowing. We have an Oracle and tarot card business, and she creates incredible cards that, I started to actually turn to again. Like, I had been doing it for a long time, but I started doing it again, getting that inner knowing. That's how all of what I do in my life is aligned with this mission of turning inward and finding out what your inner being is saying and getting aligned. So that's something that I did want to say. And if anyone is interested in working with me on a personal level and would like to go into some of these areas, the best place to contact me is truesacredunion@gmail.com. I'm going to put up a calendar soon, which will make it easier to schedule. And I was at first like, yeah, I'll do a couple sessions a week because I'm super busy, you guys. This isn't something that I'm like, oh, I got to do this. It's like, I'm called to do it, even as busy as I am. And I'm like, I'm going to make this available. So very excited about that. So in summary, I feel for me personally, there was a greater infusion of my inner being, the powerful divine feminine stepping in even further. I'm very excited to hear what other people have to say about this. So we're going to go ahead and open up the call right now. Let me see here. All right. So anyone who would like to be on camera, please, you can come on camera now. The way I do this for anyone that's not been on the call is, as we talk, if you have something to say, just unmute and I'm going to know that you want to join into the conversation. And who would like to contribute first to what I had to say? I know I say a lot usually in my intro, and people are like, I don't know. Where do I begin? Nothing like silence. Anyone feel a shift on Wednesday? Kimberly, are you there? Oh, yes, Kimberly, you're there. Maybe she's away. I know.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to figure out how to do this.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you loud.
Oh, okay. So Debbie and I, we're talking this week and sharing, and I had a shift. I wouldn't say that it seemed directly connected to my divine counterpart situation. However, I definitely felt a big shift coming, even to the point, I don't even know where to begin. I would say about the middle of the week, I was hiking, and oh yeah, I'll talk about my shoulder. Should I tell about
That's
that?
what I was
Okay.
thinking.
Okay. And this is all connected because I know this is all connected even to my, divine counterpart journey on some level, because experiencing and seeing and feeling the shift actually starting to take place, that I really truly feel we're on the cusp of the shift that we've all been waiting for. Like it's actually here, it's available now. And we're, I guess, kind of getting specific opportunities in certain aspects of our lives where we're able to step into the right side up versus being in the upside down matrix that we've been stuck in for so long. And for me, it happened. I've had this problem with my shoulder for 20 years. I've had frozen shoulder. It's bursitis. It's just, kind of a continual thing. And I was hiking, and it had gotten so much worse that over the last couple of weeks, because I hadn't been exercising as much, and it flares up a lot more when I'm not daily exercising. And I was hiking, and it was bothering me already so much. And then it was super cold here, so I was bundled up. And then it got so hot, I had to take my jacket off, but the cold air just made it worse. And it was so bad, it just like went straight into this. I was thrown. It was almost like I was thrown into a place that I've never been before. And it happened instantaneously. And I was almost immediately shown the core of this shoulder pain in a past life situation. And it was like I could see myself in some kind of maybe like a prison camp, chain gang, busting rocks with a pickaxe, just brutally hard labor, like even that, people were being worked to death. So, it wasn't even like you'd necessarily last real long in that situation. And that's what I was seeing. I just started bawling, started crying. And then I was shown the clearing tool that I got from, I'm taking Alicia Brochet's energy course. And I'd been shown a clearing tool, and I used that clearing tool on my shoulder, and it was just like extracting out this like black stuff out of my shoulder. And I kid you not, the pain in my shoulder went away immediately. And I have never experienced that. It always bothers me all the time to varying degrees. And this has been about 5 days now. And I think that was Wednesday that this happened. It's been about 5 days now. And I have a little bit of like, and it was interesting because I just was talking to a physical therapist this weekend at a party I was at. And I know that there's going to be a physical side of things too. So like there's the energetic portion that I got to the root of. And I told her about this. And she was like, oh my goodness, she totally agreed with me that there's always an energetic component. But then right away she was assessing my posture and how I hold myself and how that would affect my shoulders. And then she even said that we generationally, we learn like posture and things, how we walk or stand from our parents. And so interestingly, this is a problem my mom and grandmother both had as well. So I know that there's going to be some more work to do in the physical sense, you guys, but this cleared up in a way I have not experienced ever. And it kind of precipitated for me more insights, like, because I just felt like this flow was happening that I was sharing with Debbie about, I really truly believe and feel that for the first time ever, the right side up is available to us. And now we're going to begin to step into it in specific places. We're going to find places in our lives. And I have another situation here. I'm in the middle of a house remodel, old 100-year-old house, and a tree house building project, and a garage with apartment building project that I feel so overwhelmed with. And it's just like, there's been blocks and there's been hurdles, and it's just, like I still feel like I'm meant to be doing this, but the challenges that I'm facing with it, I realize are kind of creating the perfect foil for a place to step into this higher order of the right side up, the new energy, and not going into the old pattern. And I wouldn't even say it's not even like, oh, I could manifest, like the resources I need, whether it's I need to get another loan, and, there's bits and pieces that on a physical level have to get, have to happen in order to make this project continue to move forward like it should. And it's not like, oh, I feel like I could just manifest it. It's different than that. It's not about manifesting. It's literally about just embodying that I have the capability to pull into my, which I guess is kind of like manifesting, but it feels different, right? I have in the new energy, in the new template that we're now having access to for the first time, I could feel it, that I have as much, it'll still challenge me. I'm going to still have, those moments where I have the self-doubt. I was having self-doubt again today, but the possibility of being able to operate and then see it happen in a physical sense in some aspect of my life in particular. And I think this is going to be coming up for all of us, whether it's in the divine companion situations or others, as part of the ascension process. I feel it's right there. It's to be had in a way that I've never sensed before.
Well, and we had talked a little bit about how we've all gotten so used to being blocked left, right, and center. I mean, just doesn't matter what you're trying to do. You know what I spent my whole day
Right.
doing Friday is trying to get the top of my Christmas tree to light. I am not kidding you. And what do? Do you take it back? This big, huge tree that's been decorated. And you guys, some of you guys know that I've kept my tree up all year. I've got the top section and the hoops you have to jump through. And you call the service company and they're like, did you register the tree? And blah, blah, blah. And send us pictures and we need a receipt. And I'm like, oh my God, don't you understand? There's so many more important things I'm trying to do, but I want my Christmas tree lit. That is the energy that Kimberly and I were talking about. It almost feels like some of that is able to be removed so that we can get down to business and get some stuff done. And that's what you're saying. It's like the new is a little bit more accessible than it was before.
Mm-hmm. And I also had really clear insight right along the same lines as Debbie. And we both realized this. So our card business over the last few months, and I know it has everything to do with the fact that everybody is struggling more financially. So our sales have gone down. And however, there were a few times when they would still kick up, like they used to be really consistently. But we both realized that right now we're being called, and I think every single light worker is being called to step up to help more than ever before humanity, whether that's each other or anybody else who's beginning to get on the awakening path. And I don't think I would have ever said to myself that, yeah, I want to start consistently doing readings again. I've done it in the past. It stopped because I got frustrated with getting a lot of people just wanting readings who I just feel like I'm spinning wheels with them, like they're not really making progress, or they just want to keep asking the same questions and they want a different answer than coming up, and that kind of thing. But I do feel like I'm being called to do readings as well. But at the same time, I didn't have a format that I really felt like I knew what I wanted to do with readings until Debbie, you suggested it. You're like, how about you start doing Astro Persona readings, which is my newest deck we're just publishing right now. And it is evolutionary astrology based. And I am just like totally clicked because I knew already that this deck, it was given to me 2 years ago. A year and a half ago, in the middle of the night, I was doing a meditation, fell asleep, woke up 20 minutes later with this idea for this deck that had come to me while I was sleeping. And then I started working on it, but it had to get shelved for one reason or another. And then we just finally realized, let's bring it out. And now I know why. First of all, our sales have gone down because it's prompting both Debbie and I to say, we do need to reach out and, do something to bring in some other income. But it's like, if we were too comfortable, continuing on with the business the way it was, we might not have been as open to adding something else to our plate, And so, but then it was, you understood that like, this is meant to be, it's time. We're all being asked to step up. And so in my way, what I'll be able to offer, I'm realizing is another piece of the puzzle that so many people are needing right now, about understanding their soul's intention for growth, because that's the path we're all on, whether people are aware of it or not. So I'm also being shown, what I can do and what I should do, and then being kind of pushed,
I was going to say, I
circumstantially.
think that, you maybe even more than me, Kimberly, because of all the projects you have going on, I'm okay. But for me, it's been this lifelong, when I look back on what I was meant to do, I always thought I missed the boat. I should have been a psychologist. I literally am a therapist all day long, right, Hamish?
Mhm.
It's like I have done lots and lots of sessions in the past and card readings and everything else. I, like Kimberly, got to where it's like it was all just motivated by get together with the twin, get together with the twin. And I am looking to help people really become empowered to where they absolutely love the life that they live. And so that's been something I've wanted to do forever. And so even so far as I'm sure once we're doing our work, the card business is probably going to start kicking off. It's like the universe wanted us to say, hey, it's not just about this. There's another piece that you got here.
Right.
So mission is really important. Anyone else have anything to say about like what they're doing and their missions? And Hamish, you want to touch base with what you've had going on this week?
You know me, I struggle to remember what week I'm in.
Me too.
Sometimes.
Thank you, man. Right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, everything you both said is spot on so far. It's just amplifying. It's just accelerating. Like there's so much like that like everything's amplifying. So that's why the resistance and the blocking is a bit like karma. It's a bit of a dirty word. Like you can't really be blocked, but sidelined. We're getting sidetracked. We're getting pushed off into different directions. That's run out of teeth. It doesn't seem to be as hardcore for a lot of people as it has been, but it's also very loud and very persistent because everything's getting amplified at the moment. So kind of doesn't matter how much work you've done, whatever you've still got to do in front of you is going to be full noise, whether you've got years of work in front of you or whatever, like if you've only just started. It seems to be coming through like that. And the flip side of that is a lot of people are doing the clearing work very easily, I've found. Yeah. I mean, it's still hard work and it's still all of that. Like it's not easy. It's still challenging on a lot of levels, but the stuff that we've been moving this last week is just mind-blowing compared to what we were doing 4 or 5 years ago. It's really, the game has really stepped up a lot.
It kind of feels to me like stuff is presenting and it's so loud, like you said, that amplification of what's presenting. I had something happen to me that like my heart started pounding. My brain's calm, I am calm, but my body starts reaction to the trauma. So it says, oh, good, we got your attention, right? And then you're thinking, oh my God, this is going to be horrible and everything. But what's true is that once they or you have got your attention, it just seems like stuff comes up for you to see. You see it, you go, oh, I see that. And there it goes. Right.
Yeah. Yep. And that what you just said, the difference between, because we kind of know that we're not our body and like there's a physical body and an emotional body and a etheric body and a mental body and a spiritual body. Like there's all these layers that are all the one thing really, but we can kind of discern they work in different ways. A lot of people have been noticing that because it's kind of like it's a really fuzzy concept if you haven't ever felt it, like really felt it. But a lot of people have felt that lately, like something comes up that would instantly throw them into a tailspin one way or another, like full blown, everybody gone, like just gone. And their physical body has this huge reaction to it as if they're going into the tailspin, but everything else is calm. Their emotional is pretty calm. Their mental is pretty calm. Their spiritual is like having a cup of tea going, yeah, there's nothing going on here. What's the issue? And they're having a full-blown panic attack, perhaps physically, but it's like they're watching their body. It's like you're sitting on a horse and the horse is freaking out over a stick because it thinks it's a snake. And you're like, no, it's not a snake. It's just a stick. And you're trying to calm the horse down while it goes a little bit mental. So that's something that I've been working with people a lot with over the last few years. And I've found that it's like a concept. Until you've actually lived it, it's a concept that is like algebra. It's hard to grasp unless you've had it happen to you. But a lot of people are having that happen to them in the last little while, that they can really separate out, oh, this is a lived traumatic response from this life or from somewhere that I've been programmed with, even if it's not a past life and it's an implanted memory, like who knows, right? But here's here's this lived traumatic response that my body is absolutely going through at the moment. But I can see that it's all bullshit. Like there's nothing here. There's nothing, there's no danger. There's nothing for me to worry about. It's a cook up. The whole thing's a cook up. And that's really empowering. I mean, there's still a process to work through to find the energy, work with the energy, find the trauma, but you can actually do it because you haven't completely lost your shit in this tailspin of fear or anger or whatever it might be, because you're mentally and emotionally and spiritually very stable. It's only the physical body that's still a bit out of whack. So, I mean, I don't know what that means about where we are and what's going on, but it's potentially an indicator that we're pretty close to something. If all of our other bodies, you know, it's only really like sort of the emotional body and the physical body are the only ones that haven't quite got the memo yet. And
Do you
so
think
this is for people who aren't even, perhaps not even haven't been doing the work, but
that's
they're
what I
right
want?
there.
That's what I wanted to ask you from the clients that you've been seeing. Is that mostly, I mean, have you been seeing people across the board, people that you would consider forerunners to the awakening process, as well as just people who are every day, like just starting to say, what the heck is going on? And, oh, I know Hamish does this kind of thing.
Yeah. So there's not the difference that you'd think there'd be between someone who's been in it for 4 years, someone who's been in it for 4 decades, and someone who's been in it for 4 months.
That's what I
People
thought.
who've been in it for 4 months, they're on a fast track and their head's spinning, and it's like it's crazy cakes. Like their life is just completely wild. But having said that, they're right there. And in some ways, they're almost better off than the people who've been in it for 4 years or 4 decades, because they haven't got all this baggage of like having to wait around, trying to do stuff for so long and it wasn't working very well, getting pulled off track all the time and having to come back on. Like that's a whole lot of baggage they don't have to drop. So yeah, they've got this work in front of them to do and they're only just stepping into it and they have no clue what's going on. They're like, their mind explodes every time they dive into it.
Right.
But there's a lot of baggage they don't have to drop that people who've been in this for a long time,
Battle weary.
we've potentially got all this stuff of like, oh, we've been at it for so long, and how come you've got access to all these abilities and I've been doing this for 20 years and I haven't had, like, there's all of that, like that's still that ego, that physical, emotional ego body bit that some of the OGs have really got to look at because it's there and it's strong still. So there are pluses and minuses to waiting till the last minute to kick into this.
Sarah, what'd you have to say, dear?
Well said, Hamish. And yeah, that's it. Because I've been in it for 4 decades. And it's like I've been there, I've done that, I've done this shit before. Blah, 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 blah. But I will say this. It's like the fractalized pieces are just like magnetically coming together, the important ones from the 4 decades of work right now. So I'll just, and the intelligence, the gift, the miracles that are available to us right now is like off the charts. But funny experience, and my landlady will never watch this, but she and I haven't talked or seen each other since October 2nd. But the dog and I were walking, and it's a long driveway in a field, and she went past me. Well, I picked the dog up and jumped into the field. She just started to hit the pedal to the metal when she saw me on the straight stretch, and then she splat rocks. And then 3 days later, which was this Wednesday, I come in the driveway and her old dog comes to meet me at the window, and I pat him. Then I put my window down to like say hi to her. She's walking, and she just scowls at me and glout, and she's not going to talk to me. So I just cruise by. So the greatest bloody fucking thing was both times I had no thought. I didn't curse. I didn't swear. I didn't have anything negative towards her whatsoever. I just totally let it go. to the point that I was a bit gobsmacked actually. Um, but right in that moment, there was this profound energy that just came in that just was like, okay, you got it going on now, kid. Right? Like, that's good. That was a big, huge milestone.
When did
So
that happen, Sarah?
that happened on Sunday and
Okay.
Sunday and Wednesday.
There,
So
Wednesday was the more recent one, right?
yeah, so then I of course, because I'm so curious, like I'm just so 4 decades worth of curiousness why this shit wakes doesn't work and this works and that doesn't work. So I'm so curious. So I go exploring within myself with my greater self and my higher self. Thank you, Hamish, who I have a much clearer connection with thanks to you. And it was shown to me, no words, just shown to me that we're all frequency and energy, right? So if my response to my landlady was in any way anything other than neutral or love, then my energy just goes into the space between her and I. Then her energy jumps off of her because she's definitely got to be pissed off at me for spitting rocks at me and my dog. And uh and they showed me how her energy, conflictive energy, or her own hurt energy, I don't even take it personally, came and met mine. Then the conflicts there in a space we're not even engaging, but we're engaging at a really not well level. So how it was shown to me was because there was just love. There was no reaction. Nothing in my frequency went to meet in that space with her.
So
Which
there's no drop in frequency, which is what often happens when we have these kind of altercations, right?
yeah, and I found that because I'm super sensitive. I'm super aware and sensitive, and the last thing I want to do is hurt anyone. I'm getting way better at it, mind you, to speak up for myself, but I will do it without hurting. I don't need to hurt to say my authentic self or my sovereign need. But otherwise, this week has been extraordinary, in the sense that I just feel really good. I mean, I've had heavy legs, dense sort of leg feelings, and I've had some flu-like symptoms, but just on the herb tea and the hot lemon and water and making sure I eat well and rest well. So on as far as my counterpart goes, I definitely am feeling uh, the energy more coming in my direction. Um, I feel like big work is happening on that end. Um, and for me, I used to do I used to do this thing called body messaging. So I always stand on a mound in a field, and because I always feel like it's really powerful there and I have a really gorgeous view. So I go up and I ask my body to message me yes or no. So it was like, do I contact my divine counterpart? And I know my yes or no what my body does, and it was a yes. And yet my everything else was no. That, like, my mental was no. And so I realized I was standing on a rock. So I stepped off the rock onto moss and ground, and I asked it again. It was clearly no, 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 twice, 3 times. So I'm laughing up there thinking, you even got to be careful what you're standing on, you
Ah,
know? And
yep.
like the elements, everything is just, I, I don't know, I just feel full of energy, and I I'm gonna stop blabbing, but I just had an extraordinary week, and it's Lisa's live for me in Canada was Friday at 10 o'clock, and I made it about 20 minutes in, fell fast asleep with my laptop on my pillow beside me in bed, and I slept right till the very end, enough to be conscious enough to shut the laptop off and shove it to the end of my bed, which I never do. I was just so tired. And then I fell asleep, and I went from sleep, say, whatever that ended, and I was in a really sound sleep till 8 o'clock in the morning, which I've been sleeping so soundly. I wonder if you guys have been as well. Beautiful sleep. And I hadn't listened to Lisa's live. I just got her first 10 minutes of crucifixion, and I was like, okay. So I had a dream right before I woke, my waking dream, and it was out in darkness, and it was I was looking right at it, and it was a turquoise blue, gorgeous blue, very beautiful blue with a white aura around it. I can't say it was a door or a circle or a triangle. It was just the colors and the light were so extraordinary. And the white around it was the same, like I see auras around trees and stuff or animals. And it was just like it had this incredible aura. So I wake up in the morning and I'm like dancing because wow, that was so beautiful. I mean, I've heard of the keys and the blue door. I didn't really know what the blue door was all about, and that about the color blue. Definitely, I was seeing a lot of blue in my mind's eye and through meditations and stuff, but nothing quite like that. It was very, very beautiful. So long story short, I got to listen when it came out, the replay, and I was just giggling how the blue door was brought up. So many things were brought up. It's just like we're so connected.
Well,
As
for
a
people who don't know, Lisa, a lot of people have been getting visions of the door, like the portal to go, like
yeah,
to shift dimensions. And it's showing up for people as blue doors. Did you hear anything else, Hamish? Like, is it
Yeah,
blue
some
doors
people are
pretty
getting,
much?
well,
like
well, no, there are blue doors and there are green
I was
doors.
going to say green doors. We don't want a green
Uh,
door.
and a few people have had red doors, and quite often there's three. Like there's three doors, and like you can open each door and see like who or what is behind the door, and then choose to go through it or not. And
Wow.
yeah, but a lot of the like multiple choice stuff and like doors that are shut that you don't know what's there until you go through it, they're kind of like the red and the green doors, and then the blue doors are just more like doorways that are just open and you can go through if you choose. So yeah, different people are getting different offers. Like there's like that's happening a lot actually. Like I think Lisa mentioned it as well. There's a lot of people who are getting the beings, whichever ones they're pretending to be at the time, coming to them, giving them offers of new bodies and setting them up in new worlds. And so it kind of makes you think it's a bit like Black Friday. Like there's a lot of salesmanship going on, makes you think something's coming.
I had someone offer to reset my aura or reset my something like back to my original template. And I'll tell you, it came in right at a time. I had one time right before all this miraculous work happened with my counterpart. That's what happened is I had hit that low and I had a couple individuals coming in saying, oh, I can do work for you out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this one, and I thought about it. That's what's so crazy is I actually gave it some consideration. And I would really hope that you would have talked me out of it, Hamish. But
Yep.
once I realized,
yeah.
I was like, oh, what was I even thinking? Like, how could that even get in? But that's
Yep.
what happens when you're feeling in that state of, you're feeling like you're not quite, gotta be careful of those offers.
Yeah,
You
when
never
you
know
get low
when
enough, something, it's like a little radar goes off and they're like, the bank account's nearly tapped out over there. Let's go and visit them and see if they want a loan.
Sarah, did you want to
you
say
know,
something?
yeah, just to pull that blah blah story together after listening to Lisa's live, what came really through after it, because I so enjoy them all, was there's just this tremendous push. I don't even know if that's the word I would use, but push to bring all of these kinds of healers and practitioners and people together. Like I've had the same thing. I had an ayahuasca ceremony offered and it didn't feel right. I checked in with Hamish And it was the facilitators. I've had a couple doors, but when I saw the door, the blue in my dream, there's a whole different feeling and frequency.
Right.
Oh
And
yeah.
when I join in this group presently in that group, what was really coming through with, I don't think I can possibly uh, mold it together in words, but there's just this incredible feeling, undeniable feeling, clear feeling, like I'm stepping into my old work with animals and practitioner work as well. And I bought some cards from Debbie and Kim, and I'm so excited to receive them. I have cards, but this deck was really calling to me. But not that I'm going to do readings, but
Never know.
I just feel that, you know, we're all randomly everywhere in different places in the world, and yet there's this link. There's this link that's bonding us, and we're starting to recognize that it's a healthy link or it's not a healthy link. And when to stay under the radar and rest, no, like stay under the radar with our energy so that other entities or things can't come in chitty chatty with us and lead us down different little pathways. I've really been feeling that too this week, where I just felt not shut down, but silenced, but in a really good way. Like just someone came along and put the submarine cap down on me and just float in there in your little submarine on the beautiful water, and just, it's all good.
Hmm.
I
So,
agree. Yeah, I've had to realize too, it's not that I don't have any personal conversations with people, but I'm withdrawing my energies to some degree because I'm a giver. So I'm going to be there for people. And it's really important. All of us, we are being called into service. And I mean, everyone on this call right here is a service provider. Every one of you, whether you're reconnecting with what you're doing, you are here for this huge shift that's going to take place. I mean, and that's why we're all being drawn together. We're being drawn together to have these conversations, to spark each other's knowing of, oh, right, that's what I'm good at. Or, oh, you're really good at this. Did you know you're really good at that? And like, wow, yes, I've always loved doing that. So this is all of us coming online, because guess what? We're going to be very needed, you know? So with that, I want to say, I want to ask, first of all, I'm going to ask Stephanie. Stephanie, tell us a little bit about what you do. You're on here all the time. I don't get to hear from you enough. Tell us, I know you do what, QHHT?
Yeah, I do QHHT and Life Between Lives hypnosis. And I also do some work with a friend of mine. We kind of like stumbled upon these gifts that we have together. So we decided to combine our services so I can, obviously in speaking with a client and having their permission and, the chat beforehand, I can channel their higher self. And then my friend Kara will take over from there, and she goes in, and it's almost like, she says it's not like Reiki, and I'm not a practitioner, so I don't know what Reiki and like the difference is, but she can almost take like their energy body, and it like she feels what they've got going on in her body. So in meditation, she can like help move anything that's like being blocked, or sometimes through our higher self like channeling session, they'll say like this person has a program that needs to be removed or whatever. So it's really cool. I don't know, I mean,
Yeah.
we are not very good at getting the word out about it though, so we're just like, well, whoever's meant to find us will find us. So
But see, that's what is happening. And that's where I start to realize that one of the things that I've done from the beginning is find those people and spotlight them, because the only problem people have is they don't know that there's help for certain things, and they don't know, like, who do I resonate with? Who do I trust? And there's just so many people that are coming up and going, geez, I need help with this. And listen, we're all, no matter what practitioners we are, we almost all have a need to have fine tuning and adjustments, or people seeing something outside.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to say real quick that I'm very appreciative. Like every week this call rolls around and I find myself, I don't know if it's something about Sundays for me, but I just am in a shitty mood. And then I'm like, oh man, how am I going to like perform on the call? And by the time it gets like, by the time like you start talking, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm back. So I just appreciate you guys like sharing everything, because like the past day or two, I've been in a really dark place, like really heavy, like Hamish, what you're talking about, everything being amplified. It's like, I can see things more clearly. And even Debbie, you and I talked earlier, like since then, I feel I'm seeing things more clearly, but I kind of forgot that like earlier in the week, there was this movement with like, I've had people booking sessions, and I do, I have this tea that I blend. I don't grow it, but I blend my own, like it's called the Hypnotic Brew blend that I used to hand out if I did like, festivals or whatever, locally. And I'd give it out with my business card, but people wanted to start buying it. So I've had like tons of people, I mean, it's holidays, but I've had tons of people this week contacting me, just saying how delicious it is and they want to buy some for gifts. And so I have been really busy, and I kind of like, I don't know, I have this tendency to forget all of that, like the good stuff that shifted. And when you have like really heavy days and it's like, oh, everything's shit. So I appreciate you guys.
I was going to say, thank you for saying that, because that is the reason why I get on here and want to continue to get on here every Sunday. Today, I was like, oh my God, this is the first time I think we're on like four. I've been like, oh my God, I don't even know if I can get on here. I'm like, my brain, I'm going to figure out what was happening. I'm like, my brain feels stymied. But it's like the second, boy, I'll tell you, this is my actress training. The camera comes on and I'm like, I'm right on, even though, it's just like, it just flows out of me. Thank goodness. But I'm like you, Stephanie, I'm like, but I think that's why it's so important to have a community, to have a foundation that you can return to on a regular basis, if not just to remind yourself of what you have done during the week to make progress. Ashley made some huge progress this week. And I don't know, do you want to talk a little bit? I mean, are you interested in talking a little about?
Yeah, so it's funny because I'm kind of new to this whole divine counterpart thing. That's how I found Debbie and Hamish, and I had a 4-hour long session, 2 hours with each of them, like back to back on what night was that? Tuesday. And actually, it was such a massive shift. I don't know the last time I woke up in my bed and laid there, not because I was lazy. I just felt so at peace in my body, so at home. Like I felt empowered. I felt clear. I just felt so relaxed and calm in my body. And then I wasn't quite prepared that I was going to run into my counterpart at work. So that shifted things a little bit Wednesday evening for me. And I've kind of been on an up and down roller coaster this week. So, but
what's really interesting, I just want to jump in here, is that, you shared with me a little bit of the struggles that you had, and without getting personal,
you can throw it.
Did so freaking good. I mean, I'm sitting there, she's struggling and going, oh, this and this. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? If that was me, like in the beginning of my journey, I would have lost it. I would have been,
I've lost it.
No, but the thing is what I'm saying is that the level of patience that you have for yourself is like, I'm sorry, but it's like this much with how much you're doing. You're taking leaps and bounds, and the patience.
I feel like my masculine,
like this.
Feminine is like, it's like, okay, we're doing this boundaries thing. And I was actually able this morning, had a lot of shifts with me and my counterpart last week saying we're going to go no contact, although we work together. So it's kind of impossible. And my mom, the day after on Thanksgiving, my mom and I have done this like no contact thing where we're not speaking. And she reached out to me this morning, and I was so calm and was able to approach it from a different perspective this morning. So I did notice a huge shift in myself there, because I was able to, in a loving, respectful way, I answered the phone, I heard her apology, and I still set the boundary that I
Wow.
needed some space. So that was a big shift. And then of course I got off the phone and cried and let myself have a good cry, but it's balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
actually, I wanted to mention that this morning when I woke up, the very first thing, it was like I wasn't even fully awake yet. And Debbie, you and I spoke of this. I've kind of been in this game for the last 5-ish years with, since my first initial dark night and awakening and all that. And I kind of feel like I've been walking through blindly. I have friends and people around me who have their gifts that, are online. And for me, I've always been really big into like knowing things or sensing, feeling things, but lots of doubt, lots of self-doubt. And this morning I woke up and the whole lighthouse, visual came back, and it's like, you are a way shower, you are a lighthouse, and you have very unique gifts and abilities that others that are in your circle don't have. And I've been practicing putting my hand on my heart and saying, what do I know? And that's been really helpful this week. So thank you for that. But yeah, that whole vision of the
Wow.
light came this morning, and it was just like, you don't have to have those gifts. Your gift is in not having those gifts.
Yeah.
And having your inner
Exactly.
knowing, and that is what's guiding you. And you are going, when big shifts start happening, and like you guys they are happening, lots of people around that aren't even in this game are in the game. They're moving through things, and they're like, I don't know why this is happening, but I'm just sitting there listening and like, I know what's happening. I know why you're experiencing this. But I've been able to reflect that back to them and give them the empowered, it's like this, you have helped empowered me, and then I'm able to help empower others. And so it was a really big, profound understanding this morning when I woke to that. So it was like, I know I just need to keep, living from my heart. And sometimes I feel like I'm getting out of the flow and too in my head and mental, but I always come back to a heart-centered place. And
There's an
And
interesting thing.
go ahead, Hamish.
I was going to say, there's an interesting thing in there about like our concept, our idea that we've been given this ideal of how to live, like how to exist, and maybe it's the last 100 years or a bit more. But this idea of, there's no multi-generational living, there's no real community, there's no, like, we talk about that stuff, but it's not really there. You're in your own house, your own little castle with the fence around it, and you own your own tools, and you own your own lawnmower and your own washing machine, and you're not sharing anything. It's not like, well, I've got the pot and you've got the baking dish. And like, that's how poor people live, right? As soon as you've got enough money, you have it all yourself, and you have your own house with your own space. And I mean, look, your own space is nice, right? But if you haven't got your own space up here or in here, you haven't got your own space anywhere. Like, you can't get away from yourself. So it's this materialistic outside idea of, if I have everything and it's all perfect, then that's what we're aspiring to. And that totally removes us from the idea of, I'm really good at doing this thing, and you're really good at doing that thing, and you're really good at doing that thing. And so let's try everything. Like, we'll all give everything a go, but let's really lean into what we're good at and stop trying to just do everything ourselves. Like, I mean, those of us who have children, like, we're bringing up our children ourselves. Like, where are the aunties? Where are the uncles? Where are the grandparents? And you might have a bit of that around, but it's nothing like it should be. Like, it's not like this actual proper community where everyone's safe, because if they weren't safe, they wouldn't be in the community. And you're sharing and and I mean, I'm in a town that has a very long kind of hippie history and lots of communities around it. And so there's this big idea of, it takes a village to raise a child. People say that so much, but what they actually mean is, could you please take my children for me while I go to the movies, or while I go and have cocktails with the girls? Or they don't want a village, they want a babysitter. so they can
Right.
go and do what they want to do. And it just breeds this really strange way of coming at life and coming at community with each other around us. And it's that falling back to that thing that you had this morning, Ashley, of just going, I can do everything. That's fine. If I wanted to do everything, it's doable. I'm very capable of doing everything, but I'm really good at this, and other people aren't. They're really good at other stuff. So, Stephanie starts doing stuff. I'm not even going to say a business because it's like a dirty word. Like, Stephanie starts working to help other people with her friend. And Stephanie does this one thing, and then her friend steps in and does this other thing. And that's glorious. Like, that's harmony. That's different notes getting played together, making a beautiful sound, not just we're all going to do it on our own, or we're all going to play the one note. And it feels to me like we're rediscovering that. Like, that's actually coming online a lot more, is this idea of the one thing to do everything, and we'll just do our own stuff. That's dying. Like, that's really falling away, because it's not possible anymore. Like, you actually can't live like that. You're going to have to start looking at what you're really good at, offering that to the community around you, whether that's online or in your neighborhood or whatever, and then appreciating the people around you for what they're really good at if they want to be part of it. And yeah, I've got plenty of people living physically around me who they're not interested in living that way at the moment. That could change though. Every week seems to be different, but that's really starting to happen. I feel like there's this movement of life is just going to make it so that you're going to have to do that more. So get used to the idea of bartering your skills, and get used to the idea of sharing with other people, and get used to not actually having everything yourself, and being put in a position where you have to share with others, because that's where the magic happens when we do that.
And I feel like when we know, like when we can step up and we're like, oh, that's me. That's what I do, and then to know when it's not me. I mean, it's kind of like, Ashley, when you came into our group and you said, hey, I'm really having a hard time here. What I heard you say was exactly what I do. So even though I know Hamish does work and Alicia does work, although she's not taking sessions right now, hopefully that will change. I sat there and I was like, but this is what I do. And I knew I could help you very easily. And then once I talk to you, then I'm like, oh, you definitely do need Hamish, because there's a skill set that he has that I don't have. And I think that that's one of the things that I'm enjoying about the fact, like you said, Ashley, that it's actually to realize that it's a gift not to have certain gifts.
Yeah.
I
Totally.
love the fact that, like, I don't see things and I don't hear things. I know things, right? And it's like, and when you start to confirm that you really do know things and it's working and you're going, oh my God, I really do know this. How do I know it? It's like, once you get into that space, you trust yourself. And it's like, okay, so I can't go on a excursion on my own yet, because I really do believe that these are dormant abilities. I think that we can do all of it, but we're kind of isolating ourselves. We're going to be like this fabric of different skills, so that we're all coming together like a piece of fabric. We're going to all come online at some point, but to know what we have online and to work with it. And then even like, I didn't know I really could work with energy. And then I started to work with my own energy, and that's interesting and exciting. So it's a continual expansion. Yeah. So it feels good. It feels good this week. It didn't start out that way for me though. and that, Stephanie, that's a really good reminder. I mean, I'm not going to speak for everyone else, but I'm going to say, I know that I feel like everything that's happening right now is all there ever is. It's like, oh, yep, I'm in this space. That's all it's ever, I'm never going to feel any differently. Anyone want to share anything about counterparts, like any challenges, any new shifts, new changes? Kimberly, I knew you were going to say something. You want to say something?
I know it's funny because I totally didn't even think about it when I was sharing earlier. And it was the same, it was what happened that Wednesday. I was so excited about what happened with my shoulder and this connection and this, it was so much more than, I don't even have quite words to describe it.
I heard
But I
it in
was
your
sharing-
voice. It was,
Yeah.
she was like a child. She was like, Debbie, oh my God, it's happening. You were
Yeah.
so lit. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. It was such a profound experience. And so Debbie and my other very close soul sister and I, we have a WhatsApp chat thread that we're always sending
Lisa.
messages to each other.
Who was on
And
last
so,
week?
yeah, so yeah, Lisa. So I was leaving messages for them. And then I was like, oh, and by the way, my counterpart messaged me back and they were like, and so if you know the situation, he and I were in a lot of contact at times and then no contact at other times and then a lot of contact again. And then this has been going on for 10 years now. And more recently, well, with the last almost 2 years now, year and a half, close to 2 years, there's been no contact at all, zero. And in that time of no contact, I've reached out twice and he's just no answer. And it was, something I'd be guided to do or whatever, maybe just to kind of test the waters, just to kind of see. And I had, it was about 2 weeks before I was guided to send him something. It was a song and no response. And then, so I have no interest in I'm not trying to get a connection here at all. But that same day, earlier in the day before my hike, I saw something on Facebook that I thought that's super, super cool. I immediately thought of him, it'd be something he would be very interested in and like. But I was like, not going to send it. And then later in the day, just popped into my head, send it to him. Like it was a message. It was, very clear because I wasn't anxious to do that. So I sent it to him. And about an hour later, he messaged back and it was just, he responded to that, which was the first time in, like a year and a half. And that was just, kind of shocking, but at the same time, it was just part of that flow. And of course, also the shifts that have happened inside of me, and I don't know how everybody else's experiences are probably a little bit different in different ways, but, there's a time when, when we didn't really fully understand what this counterpart business was all about. And we're very, anxious and so focused on that connection again and, getting together with your twin, your divine counterpart or whatever. And that's so out of the, gone by the wayside. In fact, I'm actually currently seeing someone, which is for the first time in 10 years. That I've been literally single for 10 years. And this other person has been, a real godsend in my life. I think there's a reason that we're together right now in kind of, I would say, relationship light. Like we do a lot of things. It's like a best friend and maybe just a little bit more than that. But so I'm not interested in kindling something or trying to go after something with my counterpart, but the fact that same day where I felt the energy shift with this other thing and just overall that he messaged me too. So that was like, oh, wow. Okay. So just another
And
little confirmation.
It was enthusiastic too. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's amazing. It wasn't just, oh, thanks. It was, wow. He actually responded
It's like, that's freaking awesome. Like crazy.
Something
cool,
like
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
It was, haven't heard from him since, but anyway, I think that there's shifts. I think it's just evidence of some shift in the air or energy field. So yeah.
Bringing that up, Stephanie and I have been having some conversations, and do you mind if I bring this up? Because I think it's really something that, Hamish, you might be able to speak to. I would like to hear what other people think about. Would you want to speak to this, Stephanie? It'd probably be better if you speak to it, if you want to.
Or no, I can, but this is also what I feel like I've had a revelation about, but I'll jump back to where I was earlier today.
Okay.
So my counterpart and I have known each other for 23 years and been in and out of each other's lives, sometimes more closely than others. We did date for a period of time, but we spent the past 6 years in this awkward, we think that there might be a relationship to be had, and I'm aware of what the connection probably really is, and I'm doing a lot of work and he's just fucking around basically. But so we've reached this point where we both are like, okay, this connection isn't going anywhere, clearly, no matter how far we try to run and cut it off and all of that. So he keeps saying, well, I want to see where things are going to go. Like, I'm interested in, I know that we have a connection. I want to see where this is going to go. But I think the real issue is he's approaching it from the upside down world of like, you have the physical connection first, and then it grows into, the emotional connection. And I'm now working from the right side up and being like, no, that's kind of the last piece that I'm, willing to give. And so we're kind of at this standstill because he doesn't really know how else to connect with a woman. And so my question earlier to Debbie is just like, what's the point? Like, if I'm not here to help him in any way, which it doesn't seem like has been the case in the past 6 years, what's the point of us being connected, right? Like, why can't I be like Kimberly and just have a nice, like, other person to spend some time with? Like, what am I doing right now? What is this? So, if anyone else feels like they have any advice, that's cool. But I will say that I do think, Debbie, since I talked to you, that there is still a part of me that's, I hesitate because I hate the word codependent, but I feel like there's a part of me that, like inner child, that wants this attention or whatever from a person that's not obviously emotionally in a place to give it to me. Like, he hasn't done any of the work to prepare himself to be in a conscious relationship. And ironically, it's rearing its head today because it could be linked. Today would have been my mom's 74th birthday. And that's where that dynamic was really heavy. Like, my dad traveled a lot. I'm an only child, and my mom would get mad at me and then not talk to me for like weeks. So it was just basically me as a little kid, like not knowing what the hell's going on. So it was this constant, my childhood was a constant, like, desiring this approval of my mom, who just like wouldn't speak to me, and she had her own shit. I can see now as an adult, she just wasn't, she was probably mad about something else. It probably really wasn't
coping. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking that she wasn't coping with
Right.
her own situation.
Right.
She couldn't cope with you.
Right.
So she just kind of disappeared.
Down.
Yeah.
And so I can see that now, but that trauma is obviously still there. And there's a part of me that's like reliving that pattern now. Cause it kind of came to me. I'm like, I cut the sexual piece off. I'm like, I finally got rid of that. I no longer desire a sexual connection with this person if he's not showing up for me. But I'm like, but why do I still want his attention? Like, why am I even considering trying to be in a relationship with this person when we both know that he's not there? He could admit that too. So, I think it's like, it could be some sort of, masculine, whatever is happening, but I think it is also me,
What I wanted to say, and I can open up to anyone else that wants to say anything. One of the things that's come up, and I don't know, Ashley, I think it came up for you as well. When we're super focused on that connection, in my opinion, because I've been there for 12 years, it usually indicates a codependency.
Right.
In other words, that's how I started out the whole conversation, was really how important it is that we embody our missions. And that we really, really, it's like this. We really learn to love ourselves. We really learn to fill up our own cup. Because I've said this for years, when you need them to show up for you in a certain way, they're not going to if you're not showing up for you.
Right.
So and the question we had that I do want to know, like what you might say, Hamish, is that, all right, you've got these people that are not ready, right? They're not able to show up. Like the divine masculine is not able to show up for the feminine at this point still. Is there anything that we can do as the feminine? Is there anything that can be done to speed that process up? Or is it, as I just said, just focus on yourself and something miraculous is going to come along?
Yeah, the latter. I don't know about the miraculously coming along, how long that takes, but
right.
There's something about how whatever this place is, how it's set up in here, that if there's something that you need to work on, and this is not always the case, but when it is the case, it is. So like this is worth leaning into a bit, is when there's something that you need to work on, like a codependency, that's never going to go away in any relationship until you deal with it. It just won't. Like it won't. So it's not just the counterpart. You could step back from that and go, I'm just going to have a normal 3D relationship like that, and it might turn into more and it might not. I'm going to find someone and it'll come up there, and then it'll cut. And I've seen this so much, like in my own family and in other people, is that won't leave, that won't go anywhere. And it's not like, oh, it's your karma and oh, it's your lesson, and it's kind of, it behaves like that. I don't think that's what's going on. I don't like that way of operating, like that way of seeing it. But it's more like it's a frequency or a setting in you that's really loud, and you're pushing it out off you, and you're not even maybe aware of it, or you become aware of it, right? Just like you have, Stephanie, you actually see the sound waves going off you, codependency, and you're like, wow, look at that. And any other instrument that's in your vicinity that's got the codependency thing going on, it's a harmonic resonance, and it comes back, and they're like, oh, there's a match. You match me. Let's like get together, and it's just the way frequency works. And so that's why what everyone who's talked so far has mentioned, like they've had this massive moment in their day or week, or where something happened and they were just neutral. They were just really calm about it, because that's the key. Is you've got all this stuff going on, like, and you've got your opinions and you've got your thoughts and you've got, like, there's all of that. But if you can actually be neutral about it, even about your own shit, and I think that's how you learn how to do that, is you can pretend that you're being neutral about someone else's situation towards you or what they've got going on. But if you're not neutral about it yourself, like that bit of in you, like you're still going to have a go at yourself about it, then that's just going to kick off, and away it goes. You're like, well, I was trying to be neutral. And you're like, yeah, you were trying, but it wasn't a thing. Whereas if you can actually sit with yourself and go, oh, look, my body's fully freaking out, but I'm okay with it. Like, we're just going to work this out. This is fine. And you really, really oil on the water, like it's just totally calm. Then you can see what's going on, because while you're in the dance, while you're busy doing the tango in the middle of the floor with the other person that's come to be a dance partner, you can't see what's going on. Like, you've got no clue. You're in there spinning and twirling and getting thrown around. But if you're super cool and calm about it, then you can see what's going on the dance floor, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, let's not go there. That's not a great place. And so that could look like you work on your own shit, and the counterpart or someone else will step up to fill that gap. Like, there's no promise in that. And so I wouldn't want to be selling that line to anybody at all. But if you don't work on your own shit, they'll never be able to step up, because part of their job description, it seems, is to resonate back to you that thing you need to work on in yourself. So work on it and get it sorted, and then see what happens. And maybe it'll fix things and things will miraculously become amazing. Like Debbie's just had, I mean, she didn't just work on herself. Like, it was quite a big thing that she did energetically. It was massive. But there was just this click, like something suddenly changed, and it was a huge change. And the other person wouldn't say that. I don't think they would say, no, I'm still me. I haven't changed at all. And it'd be like, yeah, like fucking hell you haven't. Like, that's,
Oh,
we're
there
talking
was
chalk and
change.
cheese here. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally chalk and cheese. So I guess what I can sell to someone, what I could offer around that is, you've got nothing to lose in looking for that pattern in yourself and working on it. Because if you don't work on it, sure as shit, nothing's going to change.
Right.
So find it and approach it. And I mean, don't even work on it. Like, it's not like homework that you have to do. It's just like, find it, go looking for it, find it, approach it, and see what the hell's going on. And just work from there. Like, just sit with it and go, well, look at that. Like, it's actually, I really thought it was him the whole time. But actually, I've got a fair bit to do with that, even though I would have said it's got nothing to do with me. It's all him. And it's like, no,
Right.
it just doesn't
But
quite work.
just to your point, like earlier, Debbie, you were saying how quickly things are coming, and you're like, oh, look at that. Like, I mean, I was talking to you, a few hours ago, and I was like, I wouldn't say in distress, like, gonna die, but I was like, this is bullshit. Like,
Okay, no, you had an
It's like
issue.
an hour later, it was like, I was like, wait, there's something here for me to look like. I need to really sit with this and see, like, why do I want his attention? And then, like, honestly, moments later, I was like, oh, it's because this thing from my childhood. Like, and I don't really have judgment. It's just like, okay, there it is. I see it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Perfect.
But it's another thing that's so interesting that I think what you're saying about specifically this codependence thing, and Debbie knows because I've shared, but my counterpart said to me specifically this week, he said, well, it's like things are going really well, and then you have a feeling or an emotion and it pushes me away. And I was like, well, if I'm not allowed to feel, then, whatever. But I put together, like, I don't even think it's the fact that I'm voicing a feeling. I think it's my energy. Like you were just saying, if I've got any codependent energy, it's like this radar just like beaming him. And I think that's actually what's pushing him away. It's not me having a feeling.
And then you're saying one thing, but your frequency is saying another thing. And so not only, and see, boys are bad at this, right? Like, this is part of me saying I don't get boys. Like, girls are really easy. Boys, don't talk to me about men and boys. They're hard to get. But I don't know how they put me in this body, but here I am, right? But the thing that mostly men and boys are really bad at is not so much multitasking, but being in two places at once, like reading two energy streams at once and knowing them both, like seeing them both coming in. And I mean, like, there's a lot of people that aren't good at that, but men are particularly not good at that. So if you say one thing, but you're throwing off this frequency that's another thing, they're just going to go with whatever's the strongest. And so if there's this mild thing going on in you, but you're really saying it, they'll go with what you're saying, right? But if you've got this thing throwing off like nuts, throwing off from you, but you're saying this other thing, and like, this is not, boys will just read the energy because it's stronger than the words. And I mean, this is not an excuse for like girls saying no, and the boy gets the wrong idea and it goes further than it should. But there's a bit of something going on there because men,
conflict in
men drop into that animal body much, much more easily than women do, like out of their head and straight to their groin, right? But straight into that gut animal body. And animals just read what's going on. Like, you talk to a dog or a horse, you say the words, but if you're saying one thing and your body language is something else, the animal will respond to the body language, not the words. And so it's like, men, to some degree, and especially when men are out of their head and further south than that, you've got to treat men like they're a dog or a horse. Like, they're not going to read what your words say. They're going to read what your body is saying, or potentially what these traumas and these patterns that are lodged in you are saying. And there could be traumas and patterns in you saying, yes, do that to me. Like, do that thing to me that has traumatized my whole family lineage for the last 200 years.
Wow.
Like, that's a real thing. And so you're going to keep finding, people will keep having partners like that. People will keep getting the abusive this or until they can actually go back and deal with that energy in them, but they don't even know it's there, right? They've got to find it because it's wrapped in a trauma, and who wants to play with traumas? Got to find it, deal with it, neutralize it, and then odds are they'll never see another abusive partner in their life because it's just this bloody beacon, like this lighthouse, right? But the lighthouse is coded to a beacon. You don't want it to be shining, but you've got no idea what's going on.
Right. And it's interesting because he would literally say to me, I'm so confused. You're saying one thing, but you're acting a different way. And I'm like, no, I'm really not.
No, I'm really not. I'm really not. Like, yeah, you really are.
Apparently, I mean, mentally I'm not, I'm like, no, I don't need to push things forward. I'm not forcing anything on you, but I can see that my energy was doing that. That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's like that. It's like, who knew? But then when you actually go to look at it, you're like, oh,
Right.
okay, so I've got a bit of homework here. Like I've got something to do.
Well, and
Yeah.
it goes back to the same thing that, I have always felt is that we have to take responsibility, right? For what's not happening in our connection. There's a reason why they're not showing up. And until you're really ready for them to show up, they really can't show up because they're there to mirror to you the things that you need to work on. And miraculously, they do have stuff to shift within themselves. So it's not like it's all on you. But, and there's something that I wrote down here too, and I think it's really important to address. Codependency is not a dirty word. Everyone is codependent. This whole world was established around codependency. So I think what's happening now is that the carrot on the stick, the motivation to get all of the codependency out of us that we can is reflecting back to us the what's happening to us in connection. And again, there's different ways to deal with codependency. The way I dealt with codependency, and trust me, I was very codependent my whole life. Always had boyfriends and I wouldn't let one go until the other one, I would be like, oh, I really don't want you anymore, but I'm waiting for the next one to come along. I was very codependent and I didn't understand that just means that I'm not autonomous and strong within me. I needed that outside reflection of someone feeling something for me in order to feel something inside of me. So I think that like what you were saying, Stephanie, is that it's beautiful how things seem to have accelerated to a point where these things are just coming to us. Do you notice? Like you just said, we were just talking and then bam, you saw it yourself. That's what's changing. That right there is what I'm seeing change in the collective is if we would have faith that we've got some kind of an energy. I don't know if it's our higher self. I don't know if it's source. I don't know if it's the creators of this realm. There's something in helping us now, benevolence that's coming in to help us see this stuff. And if we could just find a way to have faith that everything we're going through is pointing it to us. Oh, here you go. Here's your next homework assignment. And if we could do that and stop feeling like I've already done this work. I don't want to do any more work. I'm tired of doing work. That's where Hamish was talking about, some people that have been in this longer. I mean, guys, it's like decades for me. I'm like Sarah, decades of this stuff. I'm battle weary. I almost couldn't get on this call today because I was so tired. I'm like, I can't do another day. but we show up and we know that there's a plan and we know that there's benevolent energy that's helping us to see this stuff instantaneously. And I think I said it earlier in my intro. It seems, especially forerunners, those of us who seem to be like awakening faster or quicker, either coming online right away. It doesn't matter how long it's been for you. The pattern seems to be much clearer. It's like something comes up, you see it, you're like, oh, I see that, and it's gone. You don't even have to go in and do a whole heck of a lot of stuff. You'll just start to recognize, oh, wow, that's my codependent energy showing up. Oh, I got to go get myself busy and do something for me. Because really, when it comes right down to it, in my opinion, what helped me break codependency is once I lit my fire for my mission. Whatever it is that makes you come alive and you're like, oh my God, I cannot wait to do that. For me, it's sessions. And I was like, I stopped doing those a while ago. I didn't think no, that's not for me. It's like, oh yes, it is. And it's something I'll make time for, right? Whatever it is that makes you feel that way and embody that, grab onto that. That is going to show you who you are and make it a lot less likely that you need the other person to show up. Sarah, did you have something to say?
Yes and no. I was listening to you and I just love what you're sharing, Debbie. 100%. Yeah. I feel my divine counterpart came to me last week and said they wanted a second chance. And I had to discern that instead of get hooked and caught. And it was a test from that benevolent energy, Debbie. it's like we're having these little tests, and there's another little part to that, but it escaped me at the moment, that tied into that, to see if it comes back.
Okay.
Um,
I agree with you.
I've noticed that on my journey in life, not just in these beautiful connections, but I've been tested along the way. Like, I've always felt like I've always been watched in some regard, to become the best version of myself that I can. So I really appreciate that. The other part just came through and it zipped out. Just hang on a sec. Oh, you and I have talked a little bit about unconditional love just through our texting and stuff. And I really thought about that today because I had a bit of a drive to go today. And I thought that's another one, like it's it's a big mountain to master, is unconditional love. And so my light conversation with Debbie was, we got to master that within ourselves. And then we're living and loving ourselves fully and completely and enjoying every moment on our own or with somebody new. And then when we're with that really significant other comes into our life or is in your life, there's less judgment and ridicule and less opposing, demagnetizing, less frequent, mismatch energies, because you've softened for yourself, so you soften for that person that you love. And but it's a big one. And I'm codependent of my dog. I mean, if we're gonna go to another world, I want my dog's coming. I'm not leaving my dog, It's like, it's so it's funny, all these things, maybe through the love and light era, the spiritual era, where there was a tremendous amount of energy and focus on unconditional love and codependency and betrayal and the list was long. And I journaled about every one of those subjects and I lived every one of those energies. And I think there's just a point that I've sort of come to personally in my own journey, is just forgiving myself. And when I can really forgive myself and be gentle, like, I'm just a human here experiencing this. I have some pretty crazy experiences, but I have some magnificent experiences. And I have to look at others, even my crazy landlady, who will never watch this, but like, she's on her journey too. Something benevolent and loving is watching over her as well. And she's been a huge catalyst in my life to grow. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just forgiving ourselves and focusing on, like, there's a whole nother layer, working with Hamish or Alicia or connecting with this group, if there's tech or there's, things wrapped around trauma. There's just so many layers to this journey, and they're not easy. They're certainly not easy. And but I really, really feel my heart of hearts, they're worthwhile. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't go back. I can't go back the other way.
I think that that's valid, and that's even probably a good place to, wrap up the call right there, is that we cannot go back. We are growing into the best versions of ourselves, and we have to do it with kindness, and we have to do it with love, and we have to understand that this is why we came at this period of time. So we have these counterpart experiences that seem to be extremely important to us. And yet it really is showing us something about ourselves that we need to see, which is whatever piece we need to bring forward for our own benevolence. And again, to give ourselves the love and the attention and the patience that we give to the other person. to show up for ourselves in that way. And whatever it takes for us, I still think the answer for all of this is what you love to do. I have always felt like if you could tune in to what you love to do, what you love to do as a child, the things that bring you joy outside of a person, that if you can tune into that and fill your life with it, you then have all this extra to flow over, and it gives you more patience. And, sometimes you're like, I'm busy. I got stuff I'm doing. I'm really into my own life right now. And then all of a sudden, as this person's there, that energy that they felt, that you're sort of sending out, the beacon that we're talking about, they don't feel that beacon anymore. They start going, where is that person? Where's the energy? Why isn't it beaming in my direction? Don't mistake. They get very comfortable and secure with that energy. They need that energy to feel secure. So they like it when you beam that energy at them, even though they might say they don't. It makes them feel very secure. And trust me from experience, when you start going in your own direction and you're not thinking about them, and you're not thinking about no contact, or you're not thinking about any of that stuff, they start, the magnet starts attracting them back. Because I did this video a long time ago. I'll see if I can find it and I'll post it in the Telegram chat. But it's the energy between the counterparts. One pulls away and the other moves this way. The other pulls away and they move this way. There's only so much distance that can be between the two before they be, and whatever this is between the distance is just the patterns that need to be broken in order for you to come together like true magnets. So when you indulge in you and you love what you do and you can't wait to get up and you've got people that you're talking to and that's so important to you, whatever it is, they're going to miss that absence of that energy and that beacon and that frequency. And they're going to feel, actually, it's not to make them feel insecure, because they got to do the work to feel secure within themselves. That's what they're off doing. That's why they're not with you. They're trying to be more secure. But if you stop beaming out that beacon and you get in yourself, they start coming back and you're like, oh, hey, it's good to see you. Good to see you in my field. And there's none of that energy. So guys, it's time to wrap up this call. I really thank you guys so much for being on, because I didn't know how I was going to do this call. That I was like, Stephanie, I was like, but I feel really good. I hope you guys feel really good and take away some stuff. And does anyone else want to say anything before we go?
Thank
Nope.
you.
Oh,
Thank you, Debbie. Just
you're welcome.
thank all of you. And the bigger picture is, when we come together, we're going to rock this world.
Yeah.
And there is a layer to this that we're being kept apart too. So I just parked that in a container and put it on the shelf.
There you go.
Anyway, thank you,
Kylie.
Debbie.
Oh, sorry, Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to say, Kylie, I noticed that you unmuted. How are you, sister?
Oh, yes, I was just going to say it was lovely to hear everybody's stories. I was just sitting in the background listening in my car right now before I go into breath work, but everybody is so uplifting, and thank you, Debbie, for providing such a wonderful space.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad you could be on.
Me too.
Yeah, we'll have you on again so we can do some more gabbing with you as well.
Oh, I would love that.
All right. All right, guys. Well, until next week, thank you guys so much. And this replay is going up on YouTube. So hopefully what we have discussed here is going to be beneficial to people out there that are going through this. And Hamish, was there anything that you want to say in closing?
No, I've talked enough, surely.
You
I'm
did.
good.
And I love everything. Thank you so much, guys. All right. Well, until next week, I'll see you guys later. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.